Our podcast partner for this session is Launchora.
We're delighted to welcome you to the 14th Jaipur Literature Festival protected by Dettol. This session is presented by One India. It's our pleasure to present Sports and a Billion Dreams 2021. Pullela Gopichand, Mithali Raj, Mansi Joshi in conversation with Boria Majumdar. Sports and a Billion Dreams 2021 is a huge sporting year with the postponed Olympics and Paralympics and the Men's World Cup scheduled back to back. The Women's World Cup is also a year away in February 2022. From the recent evidence of the Australia series, it's clear that through sport, a new India is speaking out. An India that isn't divided, that isn't toxic, and one that is secular and vibrant. This panel, which includes some of India's best athletes and para-athletes, men and women, who are all great stories themselves, will celebrate the spirit of a new India and look ahead at the huge year in prospect. They will be in conversation with Boria Majumdar, who has documented their stories in his books on cricket and Olympic sport. Pullela Gopichand is a badminton player who won 5 national championships between 1996 and 2000. During this period, he also won 2 gold medals at the National Games of 1998. His international career kickstarted in 1991 when he was chosen to represent the Indian team against Malaysia. He made big strides at the highest level after winning 2 gold medals at the SAARC Badminton Championship. His crowning glory came in 2001 when he became just the second Indian after Prakash Padukone to win the prestigious All England Championships. The famous All England Championship win came at a small cost as Gopi was blighted by injuries. This is when he decided to take up coaching, open a world-class training facility and impart his experience to young players.
One of the most elegant batters in world cricket, Mithali Raj first gave a glimpse of her class with her performance with the Willow at a tender age of 19, where she scored 214 runs against England in the second and final test at Taunton. Her calm and composed batting style has always grabbed eyeballs. She led India to their first World Cup final in 2005 and 2017 and first ever Test series victory in England in 2006.
Mansi Joshi is an Indian para-athlete and a change maker. She is the current Para-Badminton Player Championship gold medalist and a national award winner for Best Sports Person with a Disability in India. Beginning her professional journey in 2015, at present she is ranked world number 2 in women's singles SL3. She was recently recognized by BBC as one of the 100 most inspirational and powerful women across the world in 2020. An advocate of rights for people with disability, Mansi was recently listed as the Next Generation Leader 2020 by Time magazine and appeared on their Asia cover, making her the first para-athlete in the world and the first Indian athlete to receive such recognition. Presently, she is employed with Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited as a sports person and trains at Gopichand Academy, where she is currently preparing to qualify at the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics to be held later this year. Boria Majumdar, a Rhodes Scholar, is the author of multiple books on Indian sport and its history. His most recent publications include 11 Gods and a Billion Indians and Dreams of a Billion, India and the Olympic Games, which he's co-written with Nalin Mehta. He's written over 1,500 columns and has been covering international sports for 2 decades. Please do remember to comment by typing it into the comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, Sport and a Billion Dreams 2021. Pullela Gopichand, Mithali Raj and Mansi Joshi in conversation with Boria Majumdar.
Hi, on behalf of everybody and my panel, welcome to Sports and a Billion Dreams 2021. As you've already heard, Just a couple of lines from me. Each of these people on my panel today, Pullela Gopichand, Mithali Raj, and Mansi Joshi, are a personal inspiration to me and to actually a billion people. Gopi, for one, is one who I call my hero, and I will not say that for many, because in terms of lifestyle, in terms of commitment, in terms of everything, Mansi, from what she has achieved at this age and what the journey that she has been through, absolute legend of our sport. And Mithali, again, I mean, someone who I call family. From 2005 to 2020, the journey that she has traveled, and with her, the women's game has traveled. Just now, by the way, 5 minutes back, her team has been announced by the BCCI that she will lead out in Lucknow on the 7th of March, and we know what she has achieved. So first question to you, Gopi, before I go to my two ladies on the panel. First question to you. When we wrote India, the Olympic book, it was a different world. It was pre-COVID. And over the last 1 year or so, how tough has it been for you and your students? And looking ahead at Tokyo now, which now seems real, are you confident that countries which have been able to manage COVID better, take China, take Australia, take New Zealand, here it's been very turbulent. Are you still confident that you will be able to deliver what you did for India in 2012 and 2016? And tell me a little bit about your journey.
Um, thanks, Boria. I think this year has been tough, as you said. We started off the blocks a bit later than some of the other countries because they had isolations, quarantines done, and people were training in sanitized environments long before we had started. But having said that, the last few months for sport in general and badminton have been pretty decent, especially for our top players. I think things have been back to normal in the last, say, 5 months or 6 months. So I'm happy with the way they have progressed. And since there is time more till the Olympics, I'm confident that our players will do well at the games. When I started my journey, and I was in 1991, we never thought we had a team which went to play the 92 Olympics and 96 Olympics. Never did we even dream of a medal, even a remote chance for a medal. The biggest we thought was to qualify. And today, I'm happy that at least we go in, and whichever event we qualify in, we go in with the prospect to win a medal. We have a world champion in Sindhu going there. We have a medalist in Sai going there, and also somebody like Satvik and Chirag who've been really doing well going there for sure. The rest, I'm hoping that we can have in the next few months and in the last few tournaments, some more players who could qualify, and we will definitely go in with a strong chance for a medal in Tokyo.
Okay, before I go to Mithali and Mansi, 2012 you've given us Saina and the medal in London. 16 you've given us Sindhu, and both of us covered that journey together. Are you giving us 2020 with the doubles team? Are you because this country needs hope, and for me Jaipur stands for hope. Give me something as start of the session. Are you giving me Mansi Joshi? Are you telling me that we have para, we have able-bodied? Are you telling me that? Tell me at the start of the session. Give me something.
There is definitely happy news. I'm very confident that between our para athletes and also our men's doubles, which you asked specifically, and of course the women's singles and the men's singles, we definitely will better our medals from what we did in Rio.
Okay. Mithali, if I can come to you, August you leave your house to go to Bangalore and train when the country was seeing 100,000 COVID cases. September was the peak. Even then, Mithali Raj was going alone, hiring a trainer and getting ready for the women's T20 challenge. You've achieved everything. You've been finalist and captain of the team, which has made the final twice. You are a legend in your sport. What keeps you going? And then thoughts, obviously, the second part, you will lead that team for the tricolor on the 7th of March in Lucknow again. 22 coming, the World Cup. Thoughts on your journey and resumption post-COVID?
To talk about my journey, I think it ran parallel to the evolution of women's cricket in our country from, say, I started in 1999 when women cricketers or women's cricket was not very popular. People were quite ignorant about the sport itself in our country. So growing up was difficult, not much of resources or facilities for women cricketers back in the 90s. But things started to roll once we came under BCCI in 2007. The major part was the contract which the players have started to get. They become a contracted players, and the sort of series that been organized and the structured domestic circuit. I think these have really given us a lot of young players in today's time. You see players making a debut at 18, 19 because they are exposed to so much of matches and cricket around the globe with the leagues. And we, of course, have our own women's T20 challenge. I'm sure in a couple of years' time, it will graduate to a full-fledged IPL for women. And talking about COVID, as Gopi rightly said, all of us have struggled in the last year. There was a lot of chaos around. A lot of sports did take a backseat, and especially sports persons or people who have been invested in sport. Yes, you were right that I traveled to Bangalore because not in every city the facilities have not really opened out, and I wanted to prepare for the Women's T20 Challenge, which was happening after good 8-9 months of active cricket that I was part of. It was important for the girls to put up a good show, and so it is required that as professional athletes, if we are going to compete, we rather prepare ourselves and be our best. And talking what motivates me is that, if I'm going to represent India at international level, I have to be at my optimum best, and I would make every effort and do all the hard work required to be there, because I am representing millions of people, and there is a team which is behind me, so I can't be anywhere less than 100%. So that is, and I truly believe preparation is very important, because that is something is in our hands. And if I can put in the hard work and inspire many other young girls to take up that and work hard, we are building a strong team for the future, and that will lay a foundation for the other young girls to come in.
Okay, a follow-up before I go to Mansi. Say, take a Shefali Verma. I mean, 17, 18, we were told and we've learned that she had to dress as a boy to be able to train. Will that happen again? Will we spare our girls that trauma? Have you people achieved enough according to you, or have we as men failed this country that Shefali had to go through what she did? Do you think we've achieved enough in the women's game that there will not be a repeat of a Shefali Verma?
I would say that we still have a long way to go, but I guess these such players definitely are sort of an example for the society that, given equal opportunities to the young girls or to women in respective fields, I'm sure they can do a lot more things. But unfortunately, the way we are brought up in the past, it requires a lot of shift in our perspective, in our mindset, to see women, to see girls as equal and give them the sort of resources and facilities that you would give any other person to make a mark in their field. And there are many young girls, if you've seen social media, very tiny girls like 4 or 5 years old, that they have put up videos about they playing cricket. So that gives me a lot of hope that yes, things are changing, but at a gradual pace.
Okay, Mansi, 2 questions to you. One, from a personal standpoint, how are you looking at the Olympics this year, the Para Games? Because if I, as an analyst, am supposed to understand, I am far more hopeful about the Paralympics than the able-bodied, because I think we won 4 in Rio. There is every reason to believe we will cross 10. So how are you looking at it from the personal standpoint and from the standpoint of the para team? And do you think Tokyo can realistically be called India's watershed moment as far as the Paralympics are concerned? Your thoughts?
So thank you, Mr. Majumdar, for your question. I think Tokyo 2020 is also going to change how we in India are perceiving parasport, how we are consuming parasports. And as you said, previously we had 4 medals at Paralympics 2016, and this year at 2021 we are hoping for a double-digit count. And the best thing about the whole 2020 Paralympic Games is that para-badminton is getting introduced for the first time. It's making its debut at the Paralympic Games. So we as para-badminton players, we all want to be called as Paralympians, because as athletes, we need the tag Olympian, Paralympians, and we as para-athletes wish to be called as Paralympians. On personal note, as you are aware, my singles event is not going to be an event at Paralympic Games. I'm trying to qualify through mixed doubles and women's doubles. I do have a chance. I'm not leaving it behind. And I'm very hopeful that, I make it, me and my partner, we both make it for Paralympics 2021.
Yeah, and just to push you, would you agree that this will be the revolution? And am I realistic in saying that 10 is the threshold at least that we will win in terms of para sports? If I remember right, 118 athletes, 4 medals compared to the able-bodied, obviously the ratio was far, far better as far as the para games are concerned in Rio. So I expect that to get better this time in Tokyo.
Yes, definitely. I think number of players, number of events at Paralympic Games are comparatively higher, and I think with that we also see a lot of medals at Paralympics 2020. And yes, I can use this word, it will be a watershed moment for Paralympic Games or India at Paralympic Games, and you will see Paralympians doing great. In the month of December, you will have that number of people as to be called as Paralympians. The number is going to be very high. This is what we
Okay, just for the audience, Mansi's internet might be a little unstable, so you've got to allow that, because all of these people are training. So Gopi, for example, is training his students, Mansi is training for the games, and Mithali is getting herself ready for the resumption of the series. So they are in different parts of the country. So allow us this little bit of internet instability, because to get these people on the same stage for this virtual session has been quite extraordinary, and all of them agreeing to be part of it has been quite extraordinary. Gopi, coming to you, now I ask you not simply as a badminton person, but as one who is an inspiration for Indian Olympic sport. On a day when, for example, a Manika Batra wins a national championship, on a day when something happens in shooting, which is exactly about 10 days back, and the same day the IPL auction happens where 30 crores are splurged on 2 players. Manika Batra doesn't receive 2 lines in a national newspaper, and the IPL auction gets 1 page. Are you still upset about it, or you've come to terms with it and say, to hell with it, I will continue with my job? You're on mute, Gopi. You're on mute. Yeah.
Well, if I were to get upset, there was no point, because there's nothing you can do about it, for one. I remember, and this is when 1996, I remember I beating Paul-Erik Høyer-Larsen, who was the Olympic champion. And I beat him. And I remember clearly on the phone in an ISD booth from Austria, I call up my mom to check if it has been reported in the papers in India. She said yes, but truly she just lied, because there was nothing which was reported. It was those moments where athletes feel happy that their performances are recognized. We've come a long way from there to where we are in badminton. Maybe in some sports we still haven't got there. But I think as somebody who's gone through this journey, I think as athletes, if we let go of that urge, that eagerness, or that want to be perceived or looked at by public, I think it's better, because it's always going to be one-sided in a lot of sense from many sports. And it's better we come to terms with that rather than fight the fact that we are not going to receive, or all sport is never going to be equal. And there will definitely be favorite sports. There will be favorite athletes. Even in mixed doubles, 2 people win the same event. One will get far more praise than the other. One will get far more press, and one might get far more sponsors. So I think just to compare would be a definite sure way of making ourselves unhappy. So I think put your head down, work, and then if the world notices, great. If it doesn't, also it should not matter.
But on the same note, give me a sense of the progress in badminton. I remember you telling me a statistic in terms of the number of players who now participate compared to where it was to where it has come. Give me a sense of how the sport has grown.
think when I was playing, so I could safely say the number of people who are actually playing sport in the country at the men's and women's level put together were not more than about 50 or 60. Um, that number, and in fact, dwindled further as time went by. From the 80s to the 90s, it actually went down. And in almost 2008, 2007 also, we would have a few tournaments which were cancelled because we couldn't get the mandatory eight people in the tournament. That's how things were. Today, we go to a tournament where it's 13, 15. One is earlier, all junior nationals used to have all events together. Today, we have each event by itself. And then we have almost 3,000 entries in an under 13 event. Under 15, 17 would have 2,500, 3,000 entries. So the numbers have grown tremendously. The number of courts in Hyderabad, if I remember, would be about 5 or 6 when I was growing up. The entire city had maybe 5 or 6 courts. And today they're probably about 2,000 courts. So I think we're just looking at the whole sport being exploded. People confident of taking up the sport, people investing in the sport. And I think it's wonderful from that perspective. The sport has taken a huge change.
Okay. Mithali, if I can come to you on that sport has taken a huge change. When you left for the 2017 World Cup, there were hardly any journalists. And by the way, what Gopi said in terms of getting reported, it's a reflection on us, not the athletes, including myself. We, the media, we have failed them, not the other way around. So the blame is on us. It is on us to rectify it. Mithali, 2017, when you left, there were hardly any journalists. When you came back, the airport was flooded with journalists at 2 a.m. in the morning, and we were seeing a revolution. 2 parts again. One, do you think 2017 made the game? And the second, we have made 2 finals, 17, 20. What is it? Do our women and men, because the men's team is in the same boat, why is it that we are not being able to cross the final hurdle? Is it mentality? Are we mentally weak? Are we... Mithali?
Sorry, I lost you there.
Yeah. Did you get the question?
Yeah, I got your questions.
Yeah.
I think 2017 was sort of a watershed moment for women's cricket. Despite being in women's cricket for so many years, I've never really seen the sort of marketing and publicity being done for the 2017 World Cup by the ICC, by ECB, who hosted the World Cup. I think it had a lot to do with the way they've marketed the sport during the period and promoted it on social media. And the first win that India had against the host has set the tone for the World Cup. And since then, everybody started to follow. Many people around the world have started to follow women's cricket. So yes, getting into the World Cup, I think not many people have rated us very high getting into the 2017 World Cup. But I guess it's always good to be underdogs without any pressure, getting in there and doing your job. Talking about the 2017 and 2020 World Cup finals, I think that as India, we've not really played too many World Cup finals, one. Second is that, yes, the pressure of playing the final is very different no matter how many World Cups that you play. I've been part of 5 World Cups now, and out of which 2 World Cups I've experienced playing the final. But having said that, the expectation, the pressure, the anxiety and everything is just the same. I believe that, at least I can speak for women's cricket, that I think that somewhere when we play the bilateral series, Indian women's team always wins the series, but we end up losing the last game. So maybe there is sort of a pattern. I think as a captain, I could sense maybe when we get into the World Cup, we do very well to the build up to the final. But when it comes to that one game which can change things, maybe somewhere we are putting in a lot of pressure on ourselves to deliver on that particular day. I think with experience, because 2017 World Cup, we had young Smriti Mandhana, we had young Deepti Sharma. So now these players who got into the 2017 World Cup as raw and inexperienced are experienced with 4 or 5 years under their belt. So I'm sure the coming World Cups, coming series, we can see a lot more experienced players who are exposed to these kind of environment, and they can step up and do well, and maybe India can finally probably come to a point where we can cross that hurdle in the 2022 World Cup.
Okay, so let me say this. Mithali Raj was working on her autobiography. The reason that she has delayed the publication is she's basically waiting till 22. So she's delayed the biopic as well. Why? Because Taapsee Pannu will hold that World Cup trophy a la Mithali Raj, and she will publish the autobiography and then come to Jaipur in 2022 after winning that trophy. That's the last thing missing from her cabinet. And that will be a wish come true moment for everybody. Mansi, when I went to Gopi's Academy last to shoot that documentary, and I was actually just standing and watching you train. And it was fantastic to see you train. Give me a sense, since you started in your sport, have things actually improved? Are we more sensitive now? Are we concerned? Have the facilities been better? Obviously, Khel Ratna being given to Parasport and all that is surface. But below that, I mean, beneath the surface, if we scratch the surface, has there been real change? What are your thoughts on that? And what do you still want to see as far as Parasport is concerned?
This is a very tough question. But Mr. Majumdar, what I have seen in last few years, we have seen a lot of change in the people's mindset. I have seen change in parents' mindset. Parents who have children with disabilities, they are now making their children play sports, pursue sports. I am seeing a change in infrastructure, the newer development that we see, the newer infrastructure. I see them accessible. And I see a lot of people with disabilities picking up para sports. I'm not saying badminton, I'm saying para sports over here, because I think sports is changing definition with disabilities and here in India. Of course, we have a long way to go. I think the changes that have happened, it's just in the cities, but I think in rural areas, even in urban areas, I do know that a lot of change is required. And the first thing that I see as a change is the mindset. And what I think Paralympics does is that it does not only give inspiration and hope. Paralympics as a movement, it also helps in development of science and technology. It helps in innovation. And this is what I'm seeing. You'll be surprised that, in Para-Badminton, or I'll say in para sports, the cheetah leg, the blade prosthetic that you see, that innovation happened only because of Paralympics taking place, because of demand, because of requirement. And these prosthetics are made for forward motion. Now in badminton, we require a sideways motion, we require a backward movement. And I have been asked by prosthetic companies, I've been asked like, what are your requirements? What are the changes you require in prosthetics? So, this is where we see changes not only at a very basic level, I'll say in the mindset, but I see the change happening at innovation level. I see the change happening in society, in the government, and definitely rewarded when all our medals get same recognition at central level with cash awards. We have media covering para sports with equal importance now, and we see people writing about para sports and giving the due credit to all the para sports persons. So I think with 2021 taking place, or Paralympics taking place, I think India will be the next superpower in next 8 years, I think, at Paralympics.
Fascinating answer. I mean, unbelievably interesting, the answer about technology. Gopi, if I can come to you and sort of change track a little bit. We've been speaking about wins and medals and elite athletes, basic fundamentals, grassroots, and people like us who will never win medals, but also need to remain fit for a better India. Are you seeing physical literacy becoming people's concern post-COVID? Have you seen health and hygiene become centrally important to people's lives, something you have advocated over the years? Khelo India, is it actually a real motto, or is it a government slogan to win votes? What is your sense? Are we actually becoming a culturally aware sporting nation of sorts? Has COVID helped that? Your thoughts on physical literacy?
Well, I think very interesting Boria, about a few things and what Mansi had said also. I think it's amazing. From a parasport perspective, just to add to what Mansi said, I think she's been somebody who's really been inspirational. For us today at the academy, we almost have 10 athletes who are para, and we train them, and we're looking for more athletes who can train. And there's a technology, we only have forward motion. We want only toe related thing. We want the heel to be also used. So that's another technological aspect. But coming back to physical literacy, I think in the last few years, when we've looked at sport, we've definitely seen a definite improvement in the government's on the citizens' attitude towards sport. We have the Prime Minister of the country talking about sport in the highest platform. I think that was very, very important to consistently in Man Ki Baats talk about sports persons, and the need for fitness was something which was very important. In the last few years, we also have seen a lot of parents say that moving away from traditional professions and look at sport as a career. The COVID scenario has actually enhanced or furthered that cause even more, because today people look at sport from a health and hygiene perspective. They're looking at immunity perspective. They're looking at kids' health a lot more deeply, mental health a lot more deeply. So I think sport has a huge value, and we are slowly starting to recognize it. And I think we have done well in the last maybe 8-10 years, and the COVID scenario has actually brought this thing even further. And I'm very hopeful that the projects, whether it's Kalo India or Fit India, are actually doing very well. Whether it's yoga, Kalo India, Fit India, I think all of them are doing well. But I think with one of the things with the way India works, in the sense we had this huge software boom, and then later we realized that we don't have the infrastructure. Like that, we had the huge pharma boom, and then we realized that we don't have the raw material or the infrastructure. Similarly, in sport as well, we have the huge boom, but still the structure needs to be need to be worked at the structure level. I'm happy that we've made progress, but I think it's also important to put a structure in place in the next few years.
Okay. I will start taking questions, and I'm getting quite a flood of questions here, which is being sent by our backend team at Jaipur Litfest. So I'll take them in about 3 minutes from now. But before that, let me make this point. I mean, to have a sport session, and not as a token, but as a serious sports session every year, Jaipur Literature Festival have supported what we have tried in this country to mainstream sport. Sport cannot be that physical education period, SUPW, we used to call it, instead of socially useful productive work, we used to look at it in ways all of us know. America changed to kinesiology because the mathematics teacher was always given more importance than the sports teacher. Sports teacher to faltu hai. So that mentality needs to change also in this country. My point about sport, 2 points. One, in sport, you learn to fail. Gopi has lost far more than he has won. Same with Mithali, same with Mansi. And in each of these cases, what has happened is they have lost in public, they have failed in public. So if I fail in an exam, which I will, and I have the liberty and the thing to come and moan in private. Unfortunately for these people, they will have to moan and sort of face the consequences in public, now also social media, where they will get trolled and badgered. But the good thing about sport is next day, they will win in public. They will recuperate with their friends and family and coaches, and they will come and win in public and make a statement to everybody. So that is what sport does. The only thing that does that. And you know what, for me, is the only constant in life. The only constant is fandom. If I'm a Mithali Raj fan, which I am, a Pullela Gopichand fan, which I am, and a Mansi Joshi fan, which I am, I can have a change in my health habits, my food habits, I can have a problem with my girlfriend or my wife. I can have 100 issues. My political leanings might change, but a Sachin Tendulkar fan at the age of 6 will die a Sachin Tendulkar fan at the age of 80. That is the only constant about sport that I believe. Mithali Raj, first question for you from Vedant Sharma. My question is for Mithali. Do you think with incarnation of COVID-19, the limelight which women's cricket had started to get will again go down? I mean, obviously you understand what the question is. Will again go down with spectators hesitant to come and witness the game?
Well, I think of course, the COVID has impacted women's cricket like the other sports as well. But I think we need to find a rhythm again. And with the series, with the South Africa home series that we are playing from 7th March, which will be televised live, I think it will cater to everybody who can follow it on different platforms. Yes, I mean, we enjoy playing in front of the crowd, but considering the precautionary measures, but the sport is out there, it's a live sport, and everybody will get to watch it. We can again start getting into the rhythm, start winning matches, and I'm sure women's cricket will find its followers again.
Okay. This is for Mansi from Pariniti. Loved Mansi, you talking about the technological reforms in sport and sports training. What do you think we as a nation need to do to make sports accessible to students with disability in school? I see many elite schools just have sport as a subject with no actual training.
Well, this is also a question I think I want to ask people who are listening, that what are we doing for people with disabilities who are around us? I think the first thing that we should be doing right now is change our attitudes, because sport is not only a tool to be fit. Sports is also a medium which helps you to empower it, which enhances your personality. And I think as people with disabilities, if they're listening, I would like to tell everyone that, as we have disabilities, we have to work harder than everybody else, and still we won't get noticed. And we will have to speak up till we just get an access from one place to other. So, yes, definitely accessibility is the issue. But I do see that, now physical fitness trainers or PT teachers in the school are actually encouraging people with students with disabilities to take up and pursue para sports. I know so many students with disabilities who are pursuing multiple para sports and who are training, giving their 100% at SAI centers, at the academy, at wherever they are training. So I think the first person to spot a talent is actually in school. And I think the PT teachers or physical education teachers are the first people to spot this talent. And I think they will be the ones who will be changing how we will have more and more younger para athletes in our country.
Okay. Gopi, this is for you from Shubham. He asks two parts actually. Do you think the sports management system in India needs reform? Now that's a huge question, but if you can sort of decode it. And the second part to it is, when you are a coach who has sort of given us many star women athletes, so sports women and women athletes, do they still need more facilities compared to men? Your thoughts?
Well, sports administration needs a lot of understanding and policy. I think for one, if we can actually demarcate who is, and this is a problem which is unique for, in a way, India, because we are neither a Western world or an Eastern world in that sense. We are not a club culture like in Europe. Now are we a totally government culture like in maybe a China or a Korea or those countries, or are we a university set up in a capitalist kind of a work like say in the US? So we have multiple people involved in sport, whether it's associations, state governments, central governments, individual academies, individual organization, institutions, universities. We have a lot of people working without clear demarcations. So I think to be able to get that journey of an athlete from one stage to another, where each one's roles are very clear, is something which we can do. At the end of the day, the entire system should be athlete-centric. That would be very important, that the benefit, the progress of the athlete is of the utmost importance. But a coach-led athlete-centric and a system-driven, supported, sports science-supported system is what we should look for. So we need understanding. Most importantly, we need all the stakeholders to come together and draw a common platform and a plan, so that whatever is happening in the country should be part of that overall plan. And for that, we need somebody strong from a government perspective to get all these players and then make that roadmap.
Okay,
As
Gopi,
far as
I'll take one more because this is from a young man, and I've got 3 more minutes on my panel. So then I'll go to closing comments. So quick 1 minute answer from you from Madhav. He asks, with UPSC, engineering, and medicine being popular career options, how do we as students of sport who love sport convince our parents or cajole our parents to let us pursue sport as a career?
well, I think today there's a lot more opportunity than there's been ever before. And I do believe that the way things are unfolding and the way the progress or the trajectory is, I do believe that sport careers have a long way to go. And one thing we need to remember about sport is whether you win or lose in sport, whether you win medals or lose medals, you will still be a winner. I think the yardstick for sporting success need not be medals, and you don't have to sacrifice education in that sense. You can continue to do it, maybe at a lesser level, but I think eventually when you come out of sport, you will be much stronger and much more productive. And the lessons you've learned from sport will be very, very valuable. And you'll definitely be successful in sport. That's in life is what I would say.
Anubhav, my friend, don't send me more questions. Unfortunately, I've got 3 minutes, so I've got to go for closing comments. Flood of questions coming, which means at least people have watched us, which means sport has relevance. Mansi, to you first. If there's, obviously this session has been one of hope for me and to everyone listening. Clearly, Tokyo, whether for parasport, and I hope you make it. Obviously, parasport will be a revolution. What's the way forward? I mean, frankly, again, after the Olympics, 6 months of euphoria, cash awards, Khel Ratnas, and then the dip. Then again, we wake up, that Abhinav statement, an Olympics is not every 4 years, it's every day. If we have to make it every day, what do we need to do in this country? Mansi Joshi, closing comments.
I think first thing we need to do right now is encourage more people to pursue sports. They should understand that sports is, as Gopi sir said, it's not only about winning medals. It's if you play a sport, you're actually winning, and I think that is the attitude we all should be having. If you want to become sports person, be the best. Try, give your 100%. And I think with Paralympics happening this year, I think I am hopeful that more and more people will pick up para sports. More and more people will change the attitudes of not only the whole country, but also every small area that they are living in. And I think this is what sport does. It changes. And this is what I want to see in future.
Mithali Raj, to you. I mean, to have done what you've done in the last 2 decades, unbelievable. But still a certain distance to go, because equal pay is still some distance away. We have seen Australia implement it. We have seen tennis implement it. We have seen that in other parts of the world. How far are you in that journey? And will that be the real crusade for Indian women? And second part to that question, Virat Kohli's team, and I keep saying this to you all the time, it's called the Indian team. Why is it that the Mithali Raj team is the Indian women's team? It's the Indian team as well. Why can't we simply say it? It's the Indian team that's playing the World Cup. Mithali Raj, closing comments.
I think as far as pay grade is concerned, yes, where men's cricket has reached it's gone through its own journey. So is women's cricket, and it's just a matter of winning one World Cup, whether it's one-day format or T20 format. If the team wins one World Cup, then the sort of branding that the sport itself will garner in our country, I think then we definitely will pull a lot many people to come and watch us, and the sort of promotion that we can do about women's cricket, we will then are able to stand on a platform and ask for a equal pay grade. But until then, I think because men's cricket, definitely they have won World Cups in the past, they've been doing very well. Women's cricket has its own journey to go through, and we are on that journey. And I'm sure in a few years' time, we can definitely see probably equal stature, equal platforms, and maybe equal pay grade. But until then, I think until that such time, when women's cricket is still finding its ground and we are yet to win a World Cup, which we look forward to 2022. But if we win more tournaments, more ICC tournaments, I think naturally things will get rolling for women's cricket in terms of pay grade.
Okay. Gopi, 2016, taking Sindhu's phone away has become cult. You losing 10 kilos to 11 kilos while training her has also become cult. Telling Gayatri that Gayatri and Vishnu and Lakshmi, obviously, that now it is all about you for the next 6 months in the family because you had to get India a medal is now part of folklore. What is it for 21? Give me one thing that Gopichand is pulling off. What is that new Gopi mantra for 21?
I think whatever needs to be done once the qualification is done will be done, is what I would say. I think for me, now more than ever, we have a team working around each of these athletes. So whether it's Sindhu or Saina, or whether it's Shrikant Sai, or whether it's Satvik Chirag or Siki Ashwini, each one of them have a personal or a group which is working around them. So my role for this Olympics is going to be very different from what it's been. And I do hope that together the team is inspired enough to pull through a medal this time, or a couple of medals this time as well.
Okay, couple of medals. That's I've got my signal to close the session, so I'll say this. It's not about 45 minutes of discussion with three super achievers or inspirational men and women. Do not forget this session. When you go back and read Mansi Joshi's story from 2011 to now, deep down, you will have this sense, if she can, I can. You will feel that the things that we say are challenges are actually not challenges. You can overcome them. So for me, she's an embodiment of hope, of aspiration and belief. Mithali Raj, as I said, from sitting in unreserved compartments of second-class trains next to toilets which smell, to coming where she is today, magazine covers, a role model, captain of India, continuing at the top of her sport, and her longevity from 1999 to 2020 tells you that there is a lot that can still be done by each one of us to make this country a proud sporting nation. And for Pullela Gopichand, when he started that academy of his mother was suffering from cancer. After winning All England, he was going to people for money, and after a point, they started not taking his calls and basically telling him to go away. So the selfie period had gone. The honeymoon was over. What did Gopi do? He mortgaged his house, raised 3 crores, set up an academy for 4 years. There was no media, and the rest is history when he's given us multiple Olympic medals and, more importantly, world champions. So sport is salve for a troubled nation. Sport is all about hope. Sport is all about a billion dreams nurtured. And you know what? Each of my 3 panelists are the living embodiment of that dream. Thank you, Jaipur Literature Festival, for having us. And thank you, Pullela Gopichand, Mansi Joshi, and Mithali Raj for being there on this panel. Thank you very much to my audience for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pullela Gopichand, Mithali Raj, Mansi Joshi, and Boria Majumdar for this session, igniting hope in a vibrant and secular nation. We thank our session partner, One India, and we thank our celebration partner, Diageo. Thank you all for watching and being such a great audience.
Mm-hmm.